Hi, everybody. Welcome to Evolve. I am super excited for today's episode. I have a friend and a client. Marianne, do you mind taking a minute to introduce yourself and your company?
Sure. My name is Marion Lewis. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Govenda by Board Bookit, and we provide a technology platform for companies to manage their board of directors and all of their governance functions through that platform.
That's awesome. And, it's interesting. So many people have this is a very unique time for all businesses, right? And one thing I know about your business is you recently went through a name change, right
We
here
did.
during COVID. How has COVID and this pandemic affected Book It and now Govinda?
Yeah, it's actually been very fairly significant. When this all hit, what was it, 15 months ago now, we weren't sure how it was going to affect us. But as it turns out, the demand for our services, for our product, are greater than ever because boards are meeting more frequently than they used to because of the consequences of the pandemic, and they're meeting remotely. In-person meetings still are not happening. It's still remote, and our platform allows boards to meet remotely, have access to all of the information that they need, as well as to collaborate remotely. And so we've seen actually an increased demand for our product.
That's awesome. So I
Yeah,
love hearing good news, right? Out of
yeah, for
like
sure.
a lot of software, software, cybersecurity, those type of firms have really seen significant growth because a lot of companies put off those needs, right? And now it became this emergency. What do we do? How do we make this better? And everybody's always trying to improve. Their board of directors are making a lot of really critical discussions and decisions, for those businesses.
Sure. And we have certainly heard that from our customers, and it's certainly we've heard that from all of my stakeholders, from my board and from our employees. I think the pandemic has forced all of us to face some things that maybe we could ignore in the past. I know for us internally, I have always resisted having a remote workforce. I thought it was really important for us to all be in the same place for that day-to-day collaboration, the water cooler talk. I just thought culturally it was important for us to do that. Well, all of a sudden in March, I had no choice. We had to be a remote workforce. And it's one of the best things that ever happened to us. It forced me to reevaluate what really is important for our employees and for us to deliver to our clients. It expanded the talent pool from which I was, recruiting my staff. And we've doubled staff over COVID, and we're probably going to double again over the next year. So, and I haven't half of our staff I haven't even met face to face, and
That's amazing.
yeah, and we haven't missed a beat. So there are different challenges, certainly. Fostering culture and keeping people connected. You need to be much more deliberate about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it works, and it's been a lesson for me. I don't think we should ever any business leader, I think we should always be challenging our underlying assumptions because technology changes, time changes, and we should be looking at that kind of thing all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And have you had to make any major pivots, any major changes since the pandemic hit?
Not really. I mean, certainly we added video conferencing to our product, and we rushed that to get that out because we knew with the pandemic there was going to be a bigger demand for it, and some other features within the product. But the most major pivot is that we took on growth equity investment last November, and that has forced us to take a fresh look we really did that so that we could grow and scale the company. So it's not really a pivot, it's a whole lot more. I
Yeah.
often I tease my investors by saying I sometimes feel like I'm building the engine while we're flying because things are happening really, really quickly.
That's awesome. What does going back to work look like? Are there anything going to change?
Well, we're having that conversation right now because, the CDC has lifted the mask deadlines, I guess, and it turns everyone in our company has chosen to be vaccinated, which
That's
makes
awesome.
me happy.
Yeah.
But, half of us are not in Pittsburgh, which is where our headquarters offices are. So half of us can't go back to the office. They're going to be remote. And then what does that mean for the rest of us? And we're talking that through. I don't know what that looks like. We have an office, which your firm was
Yeah.
kind enough to help us find. And, we have quite a few years left on that lease. So the office isn't going anywhere, but I think that we'll probably look at it in a different way. I don't
Right.
foresee us all going back to work 5 days a week. I imagine that we'll probably be doing team meetings there and special collaboration types of things there. And, I'll leave it to individual people. If they want to be there full time, they're certainly welcome to do that. I'm starting back next week. I'm going back 2 days a week, and I'm
That's
going to see
awesome.
what that looks like. I have certain team meetings on Thursdays. It's a full day for me with one-on-one meetings, and those people are local, so we're going to do them in the office. And then I'm thinking maybe I'll try one extra day a week and see what that feels like.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think just in basic conversations with lots of different CEOs from Pittsburgh and around the country, what we're finding is especially that kind of that small to mid-sized company, they're struggling because they've have hired a distributed workforce. And now it's
yeah,
really how do you keep it from having an A team and a B team, meaning the A team, the one that gets to log the FaceTime with the leadership, the one that
right.
the people that get to have the pizza and the drinks together, and how do you continue to foster that great culture when there are people that are going to have, it's not necessarily an advantage, it's a reality.
It's a
And
reality.
so it's going to be an interesting, as everybody's talking about the word hybrid, and it's going to be interesting how hybrid is going to morph in making sure that that A B thing doesn't happen
Yeah,
you know
there's the AV thing too, but in our situation, it's that the leadership team is not in Pittsburgh. You know, I'm in Pittsburgh, our CTO
Right.
is in Pittsburgh, but our VP of marketing is not in Pittsburgh. Our director of product is not in Pittsburgh,
Wow.
and their staffs are distributed. Some of them are in Pittsburgh and some of them aren't. So I'm not sure how we're going to work that out. Do we have quarterly meetings where we fly people in? Everything's on the table, and we just started having that discussion. We had a meeting this morning where that was the topic, and I'm soliciting input from everybody in the
That's
company. And I
awesome.
think I don't know that we'll get it right out of the gate, but you're right. I think every company is facing the same thing now.
Yeah,
And
no,
even personally productive, I had an hour and a half commute, when you looked at both ways, and I don't have that. I didn't
yeah.
quit work any less. I actually worked more because I didn't have
Right.
that commute. So,
I totally agree.
yeah, so
It's
it's
going to
going to
be
be
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, and what's so funny is, like you mentioned, everybody's kind of in this same situation right now. They
Hmm.
really are. I mean, we read articles about Google and Salesforce and Facebook, and we really can't, as owners, we really can't relate to them, right? We're not them.
No,
And
no.
so I think it really comes down to, like, what are normal companies doing? What does that look like? What solutions have they come up with? Like, a good friend of mine said that he holds office hours. He does it, once a week, and he has this time where he just sits open, whether it's Slack, Teams, whatever it is, and that way anybody that wants to come and talk to him, because he can't open his door anymore, he's not there. And
Yeah.
so I love how people are coming up with just different ways to kind of figure it out, and I think you've really hit it on the head. I think that we're going to figure out solutions, and then we're going to have to pivot and adapt and bend and morph, because they're probably not going to work great necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, everything isn't going to be perfect, but I bet you we're going to start seeing a lot of memos on Florida in the winter. Sounds like a good place to meet.
One of my employees just went down there for 3 weeks,
That's
and
awesome.
and he took a few days vacation. He went to visit his mom, but then he worked the rest of the time. And I
Yeah.
know whether or not he's working. And I thought about it. Do I care? And well, no, I really don't care. As long as you're getting your work done, you can work wherever you want to, as far as I'm concerned. And I know of another employee that's talking about wintering. They've already rented a house for next January in Florida. And, really for our kind of work, particularly, we're fortunate. It's software. You can do it from
Mhm.
anywhere.
Yes, you
So,
can.
Yeah, so it opens up some possibilities for sure.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I mean, for me, the pandemic has been somewhat of a really great opportunity because half of my household lives in Florida and half of it lives here. And, 2
Yeah,
years ago, me working out of Florida, remotely wasn't really acceptable, right? I just had to
yeah.
be here. Like, how can I not be here on a long weekend? And now I really think that it's okay, which is
Mhm.
huge because I mean, although I haven't been able to travel much because of the pandemic, it's starting to open up and I'm thinking, great, I'm going to head there this week and, spend a long weekend, but it doesn't mean I'm not working. I'm working the whole time. I am going to work from the pool.
Well, Florida office has a whole new meeting.
Exactly. It definitely does. Well, do you have, I know a lot of people are really struggling right now. Do you have any advice for other business leaders as they kind of figure out what to do?
No, I would just say, because I think I've made these assumptions before, like re-examine your assumptions because this has upended everything. And I think the things that we knew for sure before don't apply now. So I think just open yourself up to the possibilities. And sometimes that's a little bit scary. Um,
Always.
Always, yeah, but I think that if successful companies are going to have to do that, it's a different time. We're never going back to the way it was. I'm convinced it's never going to
Right.
be the way it was before. So we all have to navigate these waters together. And I'm a big believer is listen to your peers. I'm always listening to other business owners and tell me the mistakes you've made, tell me the things that work, and adopt what you think will work for you.
Totally agree. Well, the whole
Yeah.
purpose of Evolve is really to allow business leaders to learn, connect, and grow together. And Marianne, it is such a pleasure to talk to you today. And thanks for taking, this beautiful sunny day in Pittsburgh to take your time and share your ideas with us.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Kim. Thanks so much for asking me.
Oh, thank you so much.
All
Bye bye.
righty. Bye bye.